Mr. Simon Jordan, UEFA, should they be looking to go even more global with their competitions than they already are? We know that UEFA right now considering proposals to widen the global fan base of football, and people go, ooh, what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. They've got all sorts of ideas in front of them. They're said to be considering playing some meaningful Champions League group games in the USA, China, or the Middle East.
Yeah, how's that going to work with our fixture list? Do I think that on one side of the argument they should be doing this? If you're Seferin and you're running your little fiefdom and your object of your aim is to make UEFA more influential, more powerful, more economically successful, and to remunerate the clubs that compete in your competitions more by polarising the leagues that they play in because they're getting richer and richer and richer as a result of it, then your job is to expand every single opportunity. So on one side of the equation, I'd be sat here going, well, it's the job. The job is to generate the Champions League, the Europa League, the UEFA brand into a more conceivable, financially economic powerhouse. On the other side of it, I don't like Seferin. I don't like what he represents. I don't like the hypocrisy of his position when he sits there waxing lyrical about the treachery of the European Super League.
Have you met him?
No, I haven't met him personally.
Right, but you don't like him.
Okay, well, let me rephrase it then. I don't like what he stands for. I don't like the way he represents certain aspects of the football community that I know well, which is steeped in self-interest and not a lot of integrity. People portray UEFA as the saviours and the harbingers of good things in football as a result of their positioning of the European Super League. What they did was they positioned themselves to maintain the maximum amount of control of their own destiny.
But are you honestly telling me anytime soon we won't see a Champions League game,
no,
a group game in the US, China, or the Middle East?
I'm saying there's a distinct possibility that we will.
But surely that's for the good of the game.
On a commercial, well, for who? For the elite clubs that play in it.
For those who are over there.
Is there going to be a commercial benefit to domestic football as a result of the participation in elite tournaments? One side of the argument would say, well, why should there be? We're in a meritocracy world. Another side of the argument should say, you're allowing these 6 clubs that have ridiculously wealthy owners, that have legacies and heritages that will supersede most things that most people have got, to continue to get enormous amounts of revenues and distance themselves from everybody else in the league, thus making it a league of 2 parts. UEFA, I suppose, if you are an admirer of UEFA, you think the Champions League which should have been had up for trading standards because it doesn't feature champions most of the time, and the idea that the Champions League is expanding, that they're introducing ideas like coefficients to get teams into the tournament, which, by the way, when I last looked, isn't about merit, which was the whole thing they were arguing about with the European Super League.
Right.
If you're in favour of all of that, then you will think that the UEFA expansion of its opportunity and the globalisation of football from a European point of view is a good thing. If you're on the other side of the argument and you want to look at it in the rounds and suggest that the more you empower UEFA, we've just seen UEFA, what we saw with UEFA and how they really operate is like a bit like the European Union. They're a little fiefdom. UEFA comes in and says, we don't think that you should be playing your national anthem when you're celebrating and remembering the passing of your monarch, because that's what we think you shouldn't do. How do you read that room? And UEFA looking at the expansion, and part of this also is because FIFA, there's a battle going on between UEFA and FIFA about dominance of football, and the FIFA World Cup Championship are on the horizon. If you start taking UEFA into other parts of the world and start playing games in China and in the US, what you're going to do is you're not going to develop football over there for European teams to play in. You're going to develop another market for them to pay towards, and you're going to nip the FIFA World Cup Championship in the bud.
So when Seferin says today, Liverpool Ajax, for example, we're going to play it in New York, what would you say to Seferin?
I would say, from one side of the argument, if that opens up a commercial revenue stream that benefits those football clubs, you're doing your job. On the other side of the argument, which is, why would we want our teams flying around the globe in the middle of a domestic season? Which league is more prevalent, the European Champions League or the domestic league? So all of those things give me cause for concern.
Cause for concern, which means, Mr. Severin, think again.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.